Hello, everybody. Here's Cadbury. Here's Cadbury. Okay, we're gonna do a video of making legs. Sorry, I just wanted to show you off. He's probably gonna be slapping me this whole time, so apologies if I get distracted. We're gonna be making just the legs in this video. I'm gonna try to go fast through the steps rather than over explaining them like I usually do. Right now these are the legs I'm going to be making. If you want to make a different type of leg, that's completely fine. Also, I'm not going to be making arms, so if you want to do arms inspired by these legs, that's also an option. But these are the end product. And now let me delete them. I currently just have my pumpkin and my pedestal. I'm going to go ahead and hide both of these at the start just because my foot's going to go in that very center and I want to be able to see it. So I'm going to click the pumpkin and hit H. Click the pedestal, hit H for hide. And then make sure you're in object mode. If we add this in edit mode, it's going to become part of our pumpkin's mesh, and then that'll be a whole issue with itself. So usually when you're doing Shift A, you want to make sure you're in object mode. We'll just pretend that's a rule for now. There's going to be future you modeling. There will be occasions when you don't do that, but usually Shift A, make sure you're in object mode. So Shift A, I'm going to add a UV sphere. And I already set my presets, I guess. So I'm going to be at 10 segments, 8 rings, and then I just kind of randomly scaled down the radius a bit. So 10 segments, because I want to do it as low poly as possible, and then 8 rings. Also, again, try to make it as low poly as possible, but I try to make these relatively squarish. But beautiful. If you accidentally click off and you didn't get a chance to use this menu, you can just delete the sphere and make a new one. So first thing I'm going to do is just bring it down. So I'm going to hit G and then Z. So grab it, G, Z, to constrain it to only move it up and down. And now if I bring my pumpkin back by clicking its eyeball in the outliner, I can kind of judge the size a little bit better. So I think I want to scale it down a little bit more, so I'm just going to hit S. I'll probably do that-ish size. And I'm going to actually pull it up a little bit. So now I will actually go in and edit this. So sorry, I just realized I'm not full screen. I'm going to go in and edit it. So I'm going to hit tab for edit mode. And the first thing I want to do is chop off the whole bottom half. So it's like a flat bottom. This is the actual foot. So it's going to be flat on the bottom and rounded on the top. And to do this, I want to be in face mode. So top left, I can change to face select. And then I'm going to select this whole bottom row. You can either go in and do some loop select. So Alt is loop select. Shift and Alt is to add on. Or you can do a drag select. But when we do drag select, it blocks the back end. So to be able to grab stuff, we have to go into X-ray mode, and to toggle X-ray mode on and off, that's that square in that top right hand corner. So I could drag select, or I can hit B to activate box selection, and you can see that grabbed that whole bottom hemisphere for me. So I can hit X and then faces. And now I'm going to right away, I have a big hole right here, I'm going to just hit A, F, and fill that hole. And you'll see it a little bit better if you're not in X-ray mode. And then one more thing, I'm just going to chop off these top vertices as well, just because it'll be a little bit easier in the future if they're not there. This, make sure you're not in. You don't want to be in X-ray mode anymore because you might accidentally grab things you don't want to grab. So make sure you turn that off before you do your drag select. And then X, faces. And then A, F to fill. A for all, F for fill. So great, this is my starting point to work with for that sphere. Is more just like a dome with a flat top. First thing I'm going to do is make the leg. So I'm just going to click on that top face And then we're going to extrude like we did with the stem. So you can either hit E for the hotkey, or you can go to the icon over there on the left, that square with a thing growing off of it. And you can either pull the toggle up, or you can left click to finalize it. If you don't position it in the position you want it to be in, then you can just go in and hit grab and constrain it to X, or sorry, Z, Z to move it up and down. So now we have a plunger. Right away I'm going to click off of my extrude tool so I don't accidentally do any other extrusions. So we have a plunger. We want to shift the foot forward now. So I'm going to actually go to vertex mode because I prefer working in vertex mode. And I'm going to grab my bottom 3 rows of vertices of my foot. So I'm using loop select. So Alt left click. To add on selection, you also hold down Shift. So now I'm doing Shift Alt left click to add on the other 2 rows. Now I'm going to go into a side view and just start scooching it forward, kind of 1 row at a time to get a more like a long foot shape. So I want to make sure soft selection's turned off. If you ever have things moving that you don't mean to be moving, your soft selection's probably turned on, so hit escape and hit O and that'll turn it off for you. And now I'm just going to hit G, constrain it to X to move mine forward. And really I'm looking at that back, these back vertices to see how I want like the shape of the back of the foot basically. So G, X, scooch it forward. I'm happy with that top one, but I want to keep scooching these bottom 2. So to deselect that top one, I can just loop select it again. So if I hold down Shift and Alt, it will deselect it. And now I can do G and X again, and it'll only move those bottom 2. And then I'm going to do that again where I'm going to deselect this with Alt Shift and then just move that bottom row forward. So now it's a bit more elongated. It's still very spherical or circular, so I'm going to just like stretch it out a little bit by just pulling these 2 front points forward. And I want them to affect the rest of the foot, so I am going to turn on soft selection. So I hit O, hit G, constrain it to X because I just want to move it in that direction, and then I can scroll my mouse wheel up or down to change the influence of how many vertices are being pulled along with it. Oh, that was a bit longer than I wanted, but it was fine. And then this is great. I'm happy with this. One thing I am personally going to change is I want the foot to like be a little bit more stompy. It's like very like slanted. I want it to just like stomp down. So I'm going to grab just these 4 vertices and move them up. I turned my soft selection off, so I'm just going to move those up. So now in the profile you can see it like goes down more quickly. I really don't like how long that is. I'm going to change that. Undo, undo, undo. Undo, undo. So I'm just going to pull mine forward again. I don't like how far forward I pulled it. Okay, that's better. So again, I'm just grabbing these, holding down Shift to grab them all, and then just hitting G and moving them upward by constraining it to Z. And then these side ones, I'll just do ever so slightly upward. So now from the profile, it like goes down quickly. So there's my foot. Now let's smooth it out. So for that, we're gonna go into object mode. So I hit tab, I'm going to go over to my modifier section, so it's that wrench on the right. And if I click add modifier, subdivision surface, it'll make it all smushy. I'm on a previous version of Blender, so mine looks a little bit different, but the one thing you might want to play around with is the viewport number. So I think y'all's viewport is like on top, but mine's like flipped. So if you do want to like see it with more subdivisions, I might use 2 for this just because only having one still pretty chunky, so we'll do 2. And it's still like very pixelated looking or whatever, and that's just because we're doing shade flat. So if I right click on the object, what am I doing? What was I clicking? I don't know. It's fine now. So shade flat is what it's currently set to. Shade smooth is the one I want. So now it's a very gummy foot, which maybe that's what you want. That's perfectly fine if this is what you want for your foot. I'm gonna add some definition back in because I want that like bottom lip of the foot to like be very flat. So like an ankle right there, and then I'll go back in to define the ankle and then the top of the leg. So to define stuff more, we just have to add more vertices in. So I'll be doing loop cuts. So if I hit tab, go back into edit mode. If you are like me and you do not like seeing your subdivision surface when you're working, you can toggle that visibility off with that square icon. And I do that, and then to check how the subdivision surface is looking, I just toggle between edit mode and object mode by hitting tab. So that's what I'll be doing. So let's add some definition down to the bottom part of that foot. So I grabbed my loop cut tool over there on the left. I'm gonna hover over, add it to the bottom of the foot, do the GG slide, so double tap G, and then I can just slide it down the foot. And now you can see it added much more definition to that foot bottom. Let's do it to the top of the leg, if we can see it. So I added the loop cut, then I'm doing the GG slide to get it back up. And now you can see when I hit tab, it's like actually like keeping it as a tube rather than like doing that tapering thing that was happening. And then I'm also gonna define the ankle, so we'll add one more. GG slide it down. And then we have an ankle. And that's our foot. Default foot. If you're happy with this foot, I am also happy with this foot. I'm gonna just duplicate it, like move it in place and add another one. I will just like at the end of this video also just show if you do want to bend it around, things you can do to do that if you want to position it. God, I'm not actually happy with the back of that foot, but we'll pretend we are. So I'm going to hit in object mode. I'm just going to position this now. So I'm going to hit G, move it along the Y axis so it goes like left and right on my pumpkin. And then honestly, that's kind of cute. I want mine to be a little bit shorter, so I'm going to hit G and then Z. If you want yours to be taller and your leg isn't tall enough, you could just go into edit mode and just make sure you select all of those vertices on the top part of the leg, and then you can just move those up, and then you can have tall pumpkin, tall boy. So G, Z, and then to place our second leg, I'm just gonna hold down Shift D, and then Y. Right away, I'm just gonna hit Y, and that'll move it over. So again, Shift D is how you duplicate something, where it makes a whole separate entity of it, where you can like model it independently. The Alt D is another way to duplicate, but it makes an instance. So Alt D helps you save on memory space. If you don't plan to make any changes to these besides like global changes in object mode, I would recommend doing Alt D. But if you plan to like do any other like edits or anything and you kind of want them to be like two independent separate things, you're going to do Shift D. So Shift D makes two completely independent meshes. Alt D makes kind of like copies that mirror any changes that you make to each one. So they're like ghosts of each other. So there's my feet. And then final step is I can say like left leg, right leg. I spelled that wrong, but it's fine. So this is done. Dunzo. Could put the pedestal back on. Lower it down to like have it line up nicely. If you do want to position your feet in a more like animated pose where it's like doing some sort of athletic event, I'm gonna actually hide this again. You can add knees. So, if I just add some more loop cuts in here, and I'll do like 2. Oh, I did this before and I figured out an amount that's great. If you just do 1, it'll be like more of like a gradual, I'll show you. It'll be more of like a gradual bend rather than anything like too exaggerated, so you can see it like it's more just like kind of like a Gumby positioning. If you want like a defined knee, I think it was like 3 sets of vertices that did well. Honestly, the more you do, the more and more defined it'll be. So if I do something like this, and then I'm just gonna like grab that whole bottom part of the foot and the bottom knee, the bottom knee of your 3 knees, and then I'm rotating it along Y, and then I have to also move it backwards. So when you rotate, usually you also have to kind of like move it around. That's pretty good. And then this one I'm also going to rotate, but like a midway point of rotation. So now you can see that that way has like a little bit more defined of a bend. If I move these all closer together, it'd be even more defined. If you want like actual knee. So yeah, if you want to position it, you could just go ahead, add some more vertices, bend stuff around. I could also move around the ankle positioning as well, but there's our legs. Mission complete.